I broke up with my boyfriend because his best friend is a female. So I started seeing this new guy, Beck, a couple weeks ago. I had known him for a while before we began dating. He is really sweet and awesome, and the first 3 dates we went on went amazingly, and I really enjoyed being with him. Here's the problem. He has a very close friend, Kim, who seems to constantly be in the picture. During date number 4, he talked about her a lot. Like a lot. She was somehow the topic of every conversation, and when I would try to change topics, he'd always find his way drifting back to a memory the two of them shared together. Granted, they grew up together and also dated at some point, so it would make sense that they would have lots of memories and chemistry. He also began telling me the trip the two of them are planning to take, how they were taking her car, staying at her family's house, etc. I tried to ignore it at first and just let it go, because I too have a close friend of the opposite sex, but we never do anything like what they do. Our relationship is platonic, and the most we ever do is play Xbox together. I asked him to be my date to my brother's wedding since I had a +1. This was after about 2 weeks of dating, and he declined, saying he had already made plans on that day to go bowling with some friends. But after I spoke with a mutual friend of ours, I found out she was going to be there and that they had set it up together. I was thinking of it for a while, and the more I thought of it, the more it bugged me. So on our last date, I said I didn't want to pursue a relationship anymore. He was confused because I had been acting normal up until this point. He asked me why, and I told him. I said, "I'm sorry, but it makes me uncomfortable how close you are with Kim. You talk about her a lot, and she seems to be a big part of your life. And since we are not official and I would not try and tell you what to do, I'm just going to walk away because it makes me uncomfortable." He did not take it well, said I was giving him an ultimatum and trying to force him to choose, and that I was being manipulative. I insisted that I just wasn't okay with it and did not want to date someone who had that kind of relationship with someone who wasn't their girlfriend. We were not officially BF/GF, and I felt that I needed to break things off early before shit hit the fan. Well, I got an Uber home because I didn't want him to drive me. He was fuming. And later that evening, I get a text from a number I don't recognize. Can you guess who it was? Yup, Kim. Kim texted me a paragraph about how Beck was crazy about me, and she thinks I'm wrong for judging her when I haven't even met her, and how I hurt him and was being manipulative. I responded saying I did not judge her at all, just that the nature of their relationship did not sit well with me, and I wanted to end things before they got complicated. She responded saying that I need to give him another chance, and that maybe me and her should meet so that I can see that she isn't a threat, and we could even be friends. I didn't respond to her, and shortly after, his mom and my mom texted me telling me I'm overreacting. It's amassed into a much bigger deal than I had thought it would be. I don't want to be with him, or even try again because of how dramatic I feel that everyone is being. I've repeatedly been accused of being insecure, among other things, and I literally cannot believe that it's blown up like this. I'm not an insecure person. I just got a really bad vibe from the situation and didn't want to be a part of it. Am I wrong for this? Should I give him another chance? Should I talk to this girl? Relevant comments. Commenter. Trust your gut. You were an adult here, stated your case, and then everyone else presumed to tell you what you should do. Fudge them. This is not even about Kim being the main heroine in Beck's life anymore. You were standing up for yourself and clearly stating that you were uncomfortable. It's not a trick or game. I think you did everything right here, and you should block all of these people, except your mom, and let things cool off a bit. If it comes up again, you can say that if you felt it was off before, their bullying behavior after you made your point further reinforced that this wasn't right for you. Opie. I really feel bad because he was a super great guy and seemed to really like me too. I've had some tough luck with relationships and I really wanted to stay with him, but she bothered me too much. A part of me wants to try, but I know it's stupid and I'll just end up getting hurt. Commenter. TBH, you did the right thing. You were honest and upfront, and you walked away. If anything, they're being manipulative and trying to make you engage in a relationship that you find uncomfortable. Some people may think it's stupid or rude or wrong, but at the end of the day, dating is discriminatory, and you have the right to reject anyone for any reason. It's a manipulative and honestly grapey attitude for someone to try to make you stay and recruit their friend to try to coerce or intimidate you. So, good for you for leaving. You aren't in the wrong. Hopefully they'll leave you alone. If you need someone to chat with or vent to, feel free to send me a message. I'm happy to help if I can. Opie. Grapey, maybe a tad overkill, but I see your point. It hurt to leave cause I really liked him. I valued his friendship a lot, but as AS/O I knew we wouldn't last. It really pissed me off when he told her about it. Even during our conversation, she brought up things that I know I had only told him. So that leads me to believe he'd been confiding in her about our relationship, which in a way is grapey because it makes me feel violated. Just can't believe it ended this way. Commenter. You are not wrong. I'm not a jealous type. But when I see behaviors like blaming it on you to feel a certain way, I know there's something to be careful with. Kim shouldn't have texted you. By doing that, she is giving away how she and Beck don't have any kind of healthy and normal boundaries. If you accept to give him a chance, there is a high chance this is going to be the dynamic. Every time you fight with Beck, Kim is going to intervene. Every time Beck doesn't like something about you, Kim is going to know. Every time you disagree on something with Beck, Kim is going to agree, and they will let you know that. Every time anything happens between you and Beck, Kim is going to be there. I would say a big no to this, and you are in your right to be careful. No one wants drama at the start of a relationship, and the most important thing about this is the fact that he and she think you are being manipulative when the only thing you are doing is just walking away from a relationship you already see is going to be problematic. You are being careful, and I'm sorry your mother can't see it. You are not in the wrong on this. Beck should be aware how dangerously close his friend is to him and has to acknowledge that that is going to be a problem with future dates. He doesn't seem to know this, and you are not going to make him understand that. If he is really crazy about you, then he should be able to listen to you instead of blaming all this on you being insecure. I can tell you are not an insecure person, but this situation does make anyone be insecure. You don't know him well yet. Of course, there is going to be something to be insecure about, especially if a friend who also is his ex is that close to him. Is not normal at all. There is something there they both are not accepting. Hope this helps. If I were you, I still would try to meet this Kim, so I can be 100% sure. Opie, thank you. I really just felt so nervous about the whole thing. I kept telling myself I was overthinking it all, and it was fine, but my gut told me otherwise. I only got texted by Kim. He never even texted me. Not until days later to ask if I had found a new wedding date, which I have. And I told him, and he never responded. I might meet with Kim, but in a public place, and I guess I'll just listen to what she has to say. I see no point in it though, so I'm undecided. Update 1. Firstly, wow. This post blew up on me more than my family did. So thank you guys. I figured I'd post an update with the proper account name, so it won't get taken down and you guys can know what happened. My first post got locked, but here is the original post. Edited out the OG post. Now for the update. I did not respond to Kim, but instead explained things to my mom, and she sided with me completely. She told me that Beck had called his mom, who is a former coach of mine, and told her that I yelled at him and tried to manipulate him because I was feeling insecure. He said that I broke up with him when he wouldn't do as I said, and she presumably contacted my mom afterwards. As you will see from my post, this was not true. I told my mom this and described the situation. She understood how I felt and why I left him and said that he sounded like a prick, and she was happy I didn't bring him to my brother's party for his wedding. I blocked Kim's number and did my best to gently explain to his mom what really had happened. Understanding the whole time she'd probably believe her son over me, but surprisingly, she didn't. She did say that he genuinely cared about me, and evidently I was a hot topic of conversation for a while before all of this. Said he was crazy about me and was excited to see where our relationship would go. While she admitted her son was immature at times, but meant well. She was very nice about all of this, so I really appreciated that. I was genuine and understanding. I said that while I understood, I couldn't just ignore the red flags presented to me, and since nothing has changed other than him trying to have other people convince me it's fine, well, then I made the right decision. She said she understood, and that was the end of it. With her at least. The worst with Kim did not end until I almost had to quit my DoorDash job. It's not with DoorDash, but for the sake of anonymity. I primarily deliver to elderly or families with children. But as I was unloading groceries out front of a house who had only ordered bread, cheese, and bacon, I was a little confused but mostly just horrified when I realized who it was. Kim had ordered from my line and gotten me to deliver to her house. She somehow found out I was working in her area. I didn't know it was her area, and I guess she did her best to get a hold of me. So yeah, I met her. Not by choice, but I did. She ordered from her mother's name, I'm guessing, because it wasn't a Kim who had ordered. She immediately began questioning me about if I was still talking to Beck, if we were going to get back together, if I had gotten over myself yet. However, her expression told me she already knew, but was just trying to annoy me in every way possible. Just in general being an absolute bitch. I was polite at first until she asked me about getting over myself, to which I said, off of Reddit's advice, so it's really your guy's fault, lol, if she had gotten over the fact that her boyfriend got dumped. She didn't take that well, and didn't take the bag of bacon I was trying to give her. Fine by me, because, legally, if a customer declines a product you bring them, you refund them and keep whatever it is, since you usually can't return a food item. So I'm eating some crispy, yummy Freedom bacon as I type. I left, and it's been pretty quiet. I have a new date to my brother's wedding party thing, and he is definitely just a friend, but Beck and Kim don't know that, so I'm going to be posting lots of pictures and dancing with him all night. We've both planned on this BTW, and he knows everything, so it's even funnier that way. Beck has been stalking my social media, unliking and then liking posts. He even reported a picture of mine that had me and another male in it. He'll probably be like this for a little while longer, and then drop everything, but it's kind of funny to watch. Thanks for the advice, Reddit. Appreciate you guys. Commenter. I just want to say, you should block Beck. The fact that he's telling lies and having other people confront you, and low-key stalking you on social media, is a red flag. That kind of stuff can easily inflate into something much bigger. Rejection is a big thing for potential stalkers. Take care of yourself, girl. You did the right thing. Opie. I have unadded him on everything. I genuinely think if I go as far as blocking him, it would just blow up again. Don't want to give him any more ideas. LOL update 2. Well, here we go again, folks. Just when I thought this saga had come to a close, Beck and Kim pulled me back in. If you read my last update, you'd think this story was done, right? Wrong. Turns out, these two are way more persistent and petty than I expected. So, I went to my brother's wedding party with my date, my friend Marcus, as planned, and it was going great. We were taking goofy photos, dancing, laughing. Honestly, a much-needed distraction after the whole Beck-Kim fiasco. I hadn't heard from Beck or Kim in days, so I figured maybe they'd finally moved on. Apparently, I was dead wrong. About halfway through the night, my phone starts buzzing nonstop. First, it was random, unknown numbers, which I ignored. Then it was Beck himself calling from a new number. I didn't pick up, but he left a series of long voicemails that got increasingly, let's just say, weird. In the first one, Beck was calmish, saying he wanted to clear things up and that he was hurt. I'd moved on so quickly. By the third voicemail, his tone had completely shifted, and he started hinting that he knew where I was and asking why I was playing games with him. Finally, in the last one, he actually threatened to show up at the wedding. He called it my fault for flaunting Marcus around. Yeah, because apparently I'm not allowed to take pictures at my own brother's wedding? Just as I was freaking out, Marcus noticed my face and asked if I was okay. I explained, and bless him, he immediately jumped into protective big brother mode. Even though he's actually a year younger than me, we decided to leave the main reception area for some air, and as we were stepping outside, I got a text from, you guessed it, Kim. Kim's message was even more unhinged than Beck's. She accused me of hurting him, called me heartless, and to get this, said that she and Beck had actually driven up to the venue to talk things out with me face to face. I couldn't believe it. They had the nerve to drive 2 hours to crash my family's event because I wasn't answering their calls? At this point, I was done. I texted back that this was my family's private event and told them to leave or I'd be calling security. After that, I blocked both of them from the new numbers they'd used. Then, just as I thought I was in the clear, Marcus spotted 2 figures lurking near the venue's parking lot. It was dark, but he was sure it was Beck and Kim. I don't know if they'd actually planned to come inside or if they were trying to make a statement by showing up. Either way, it was creepy and crossed every boundary. Marcus and I got the venue security to check them out, but they left as soon as security approached. I guess even they knew how ridiculous they were being. Since then, Beck's been passive-aggressively posting vague, emo stories on Instagram, some not so subtly aimed at me. One of his posts was a photo of him and Kim, captioned, "Real ones stay 100 points. Cute, right? It's like he's trying to make me jealous by showing off his BFF, who, by the way, still has an unhealthy obsession with my personal business. Final update. Alright, Reddit. Here's the closing chapter to this insane saga. Strap in because things finally hit the fan, and I'm just as shocked as you will be. After the wedding night, I managed to go about a week without hearing a peep from Beck or Kim. I was genuinely hopeful that maybe they'd finally accepted that things were over and had moved on with their lives. But then, of course, chaos reared its ugly head one last time. Last Thursday night, around midnight, I get this loud banging on my apartment door. I thought it was my neighbor at first since she sometimes gets locked out, so I didn't even check the peephole. But the second I opened the door, there stood Kim. Yes, Kim, looking totally disheveled, eyes wild, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. I barely had time to process the situation before she started in on this frantic, slurred rant about how I'd ruined Beck's life. Apparently, Beck hadn't been doing so well. After the wedding fiasco, he'd been spiraling, going on late-night benders, and, according to Kim, moping around about how he lost the only girl he ever really liked. She started off accusing me, saying I'd messed with his head, and then, weirdly enough, she began blaming herself for pushing him toward me in the first place. The entire thing was so erratic and surreal, I could hardly keep up. Now, I'm standing there, half asleep, still in my pajamas, just waiting for her to catch a breath so I could tell her to leave. But then, just as I was about to cut in, she dropped the bombshell. Beck had apparently confessed his feelings to her. Yep, you read that right. Apparently, during one of their late-night hangouts, Beck had admitted that he couldn't let go of Kim and had only been dating me to see if he could move on. He told her all this, she said, in a drunken heart-to-heart, and claimed he'd been holding back these feelings for years. She went on about how he finally realized she was his one true love, or whatever, and that he'd confessed it all to her. I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or slam the door in her face. And yet, here she was, standing at my door, asking me if I could please just let them be happy and to stop interfering in their lives. The absolute irony of her standing on my doorstep, uninvited, accusing me of getting in their way when she'd basically been lurking in the shadows my entire, very brief, relationship with Beck was not lost on me. She even tried to hand me some crumpled-up note he'd apparently written to me, but I didn't even read it. I was done with his weird, drama-fueled games. So I cut her off right there and said, Kim, whatever you two have, you can keep. I don't want it, never wanted it, and I'm not interested in any part of your little soap opera. I told her she needed to leave, now, and that I was completely over this entire disaster of a relationship. And you know what? She actually looked relieved, like some burden had finally been lifted off her shoulders. Without another word, she turned and left, wobbling down the hallway and out of my life. I thought that was it. But, oh, Beck had to get one last shot in. The next morning, I woke up to find a notification that he'd tagged me in this novel-length Instagram post. In it, he wrote this whole monologue about lost love, how he'd been torn between two worlds, and how he'd never really felt understood by anyone. It was full of passive-aggressive digs about people who don't appreciate loyalty and choosing shallow feelings over real connections. And to cap it all off, he'd posted it with a photo of him and Kim looking all cozy. I laughed, blocked him, and moved on with my day.